Well, now I offer you to forget everything you have done so far. Because what is going to happen now has nothing to do with conventional research papers, with conventional conference papers, because, well, I know that I have probably, already bored you to death, because I've been always here usurping the position of the chair. But, to be frank, I thought about, my potential co-chair, and I thought, no, people just came to have intellectual fun. I will do it. I will do it. So now you have to pay for that. So what we are going to do now is connected with the Research Lab, which we organized in 2021. And I'm not going to sit down there because I have been sitting for a while. And do you have my presentation? Well, I can do without presentation easily. Yes, we're going to start with a little intro so that you know what we're going to do and why we're doing this in this format. And then we will try to engage you into what we normally do with our lab. And I'm lucky to have a few participants here because, well, accidentally, some of the speakers from the PhD panel are part of the Mendit Research Lab, and they will be helping me in operating. And well, first I would like to say, yes, we are going to actually do something hands-on. So we are not going to contemplate, pretend that we do research, even though it's a lot of research. But we are going to, just think about those meanings and, words which have been said during the course of the conference. And all, these talks which you have delivered, they were somehow built around the call which we sent you initially. So we made a list of the words which are relevant to our research as a Mendit Research Lab participants, but also for your research, because you were part of this conference whose focus is care making in many different respects. And we are going to create a sort of selected, papers, so selected words of the conference. And it won't be published, or it won't be published in a conventional way. So you're going to embroider things. You will have each your own page, which will be on textile, on a piece of textile, and you will embroider, we'll take it with us, and we'll create selected words of this conference. And it will be a textile book, which we will scan later and create a zine of this conference. So this is our plan. And just a few words about the research lab, which we created in 2021, when we were just re-emerging from the pandemic. And we thought, well, life would be, like it used to be again, but we were not right. We didn't know what expected us. So I have to do a little bit too many things, I'm afraid, at the moment. So maybe, yes, I need some position and some stability here. Let me change microphones. I hope you can hear me. So you see, I thought I could do more. No. And actually, I would like to start with the word, the actual word we use in the name of the lab. We had to fight for it because in Russian it doesn't really sound really Russian. It's not a Russian word, so we had to, to explain why we want to use mending, not remont, which is repair. And we did it actually on purpose because repair in Russian has too many connotations. When you say repair, you imagine someone, repairing a flat for years. And it was partly connected with the Soviet past because in the Soviet past, repair was everywhere, no matter what we speak about. So word "mend," and I actually like the connotations of the word, of the English word "mend," because initially it was used as a religious term, meaning to free a person from sin, usually through repentance and good deeds. Mend has come to refer to fixing something that is broken. A mechanic might mend a broken car, or a seamstress might mend a torn dress. The word also frequently relates to health and healing. Someone recovering from a long flu is said to be on the mend. And I actually just like all those connotations because, well, we can mend nearly everything. We can mend things, we can mend clothes, we can mend body, health, relationships, we can even mend a broken heart. Maybe we can't, we don't know. That's for sure, we haven't tried, but we actually discovered that mending helps. I started, before I announced a sort of a call to some of my colleagues to join this lab, I started to research a little. What was it? You know, what was it that really inspired me about mending, and why I started thinking about mending at that point? But actually, during the pandemic, when we were all sitting at homes, tete-a-tete with our wardrobes, we realized that people started to change their relationships with clothing. They started to be a little bit more focused on what they already had, rather than on what they would like to buy. And I just, followed that, and I thought that there was something, there was kind of ongoing process. And with my colleague and good friend Joe Turney, we even organized in 2021 a conference, Making Matters, online, in which we tried to explore the potentialities of creation and creativity in crisis. So there was sort of a, first brick in that new building, which we have been devoted, to mending. Obviously, we were fascinated by all the connotations around mending, because when you mend something, first of all, you invest your time in it, you invest your energy, you devote time to this, and it means that you care. And also, mending is a very meaningful type of work. And I think in times when we somehow lack meaning, it helps. And it's also important that mending is very much about the process rather than the result. And well, sometimes people are satisfied with the result, sometimes they are not. But the process, which is normally in our lab, happens not individually but in a community, really helps a lot. So we explored all those potentialities. And of course, what matters when it comes to making is sense of control. Well, I can't change the world, I can't mend what has been broken out there, but at least I can mend something which is here with me. And it's also powerful because of sense of achievement which we get when it comes to the moment when we understand, wow, I have done it, I have mended it. And obviously, most of you mentioned in this or that context sustainability. And for us, mending is a very sustainable practice because you do not go and buy something new. You try to help something you already, to support something you already have in your wardrobe. And this is also, yes, it just shows us the potential of a different type of paradigm and relationships with clothes and with things around. Well, something which we discovered together with my colleagues was, of course, the huge social impact of mending. And the potentiality of mending is great, is amazing, and I think that there is more to discover. There are different types of organizations all over the world. With some of them we got in touch and somehow have some good friendly relationships. And there are repair cafes all over Europe, but we realized there is none, or just one, in Russia. So one of our plans is probably to open something like that, because there is nothing better than a good mending with a good cup of coffee. And obviously mending is very much connected with activism, and this is something we have been contemplating a lot during the last nearly 2 years, at least a year and a half. And for example, a very interesting group was formed a few years ago in the Netherlands. It's a feminist handwork party. We again got acquainted with its founders online and exchanged our experience, and it's also part of the work which Lab has been doing. We are trying to establish connections all over the world because we believe in mending. We believe that, well, even when other people are destroying things, there should be others who are trying to resist and do something about it. There is also another interesting, I think, field when it comes to mending is this difference between visible and invisible mending. And there were questions yesterday, I think, about who enjoys visible mending. Someone who can't buy new clothes and who doesn't come from privileged society might not be that fascinated with visible mending, and we do understand that. We do understand that, well, visible mending could be a privileged practice because most of the people who can't afford, good clothes, they normally tend to wear very clean, very, ironed clothes, and if they mend things, they do it invisibly. This is something we used to do, and our parents used to do, and my grandparents used to do during the USSR period, when it was more about necessity, and well, we do remember those contexts, and I think that even in in 60s and 70s in Britain and other European countries, mending was still on the go. People used to be able to repair things, and it's not something we never did in our life or throughout the existence of the human race. But it's something we seem to have forgotten. And yes, Soviet context, of course. It's also interesting that some researchers even called the Soviet society the society of repair, because Soviet people used to be able to always repair the things which were, falling apart. There was no opportunity to buy new things. You had to take care of what you already had. And there were lots of different manuals on how to mend things, just like in during and after the Second World War, UK, for instance, where there were these manuals and people learned how to mend things and repair them. Well, for me personally, it all started with a sewing mushroom. Well, I hope that the audience knows what it is. Because when I was forced by the pandemic to start teaching from Zoom, I teach both design fashion practice designers, students, and theory students. So what I did during one of the sessions, I talked to my design students and I showed them this slide and I asked what it was. So the answers they gave me was so inventive, but they had nothing to do with reality. They didn't recognize the mushroom. And I thought, okay, something needs to be done. And that's how we came with the idea of launching the lab. Interestingly, that simultaneously I was working, and together with my colleagues from Fashion Theory, we were working on the forthcoming issue of Fashion Theory, which is here, the purple color, 64. And well, I just learned that we have no issues left, which means that there must be some interest in mending, And so that issue was already published in 2022 when we started working on that. The reality was different. And of course, when it was out, it had other connotations for us. And the lab already existed. So we launched the lab, Mendit Research Lab, whose focus was wardrobe research, clothing narratives, mending practices, and local communities. And our main methodology is practice-based, practice-led. We never give lectures. We do give lectures, but we do them in a very different format. We organize workshops, and together, simultaneously with workshops, we talk, we discuss, we somehow try to combine theory and practice, and it works. Our first trip as a group was to Museum of Holes and Patches in Buchma in Yaroslav region in August 2021, and that was actually the initial stage of the lab. Fantastic museum, great local initiative. I wish I could invite you there, and I hope at some point, when the world is mended, we will all go there. So our first session happened at the High School of Economics in September 2021. And then we were offered a residency at one of the venues in Moscow, and we stayed there for 1 month. And the result, you can see some of the photos, recognize some of the people from the audience. And well, I love this. You can see some of the men who were engaged in mending. After that session in particular, you know, because of that image of the couple who were mending together, I came to the girls and I said, look, mending is better than sex. And then we decided that we would make a pack of, so we would collect our mends and make a pack of stickers, which we created, and we just put them everywhere. We have some other mends, not about sex only. So some other formats, we have experimented with different formats. For example, mending dating is fantastic. People just meet for the first time and mend. And it really, helps, because it just shows us how mending can be a good ground, common ground for people to share thoughts, feelings. You talk freely because you don't look into someone else's eye, and you become very, very sincere and you want to share. So as a result, we created that big piece of textile, so that was us, and we came out with this manifesto, which I'm not going to read, but of course we are very ambitious. We see ourselves not only as a lab, but also a community, because we managed to build a big community, and also as a movement. So yeah, that's how it went. And that's our first zine, which we created and launched, and I really hope that we will manage to do what I just said we are going to do. I have just finished the first season of podcast Repair and Society, and some of the audience members have participated. Thank you so much. I have interviewed 10 researchers, artists, and activists, and the topic is Repair and Society. It will be out, hopefully, at the end of June 2023 and available on Apple platform at least. And well, yeah, anyways, guys, thank you so much for the image. I'll be there for you. We can't change the world, but we can try to mend it at least. So thank you so much, and let's try. Let's try. I hope you will participate in this little session, which we are going to organize with the girls together. Thank you so much.